Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes. Welcome back, everybody, to the QuiverCast. This is Mike, your host, and this is all brought to you by YourAudioLegacy.com and QuiverBuilder.com. And please check out my other podcast, The Stinky Booties, I do with my buddy, Billy. Let's roll. Good afternoon, everybody, and evening, and wherever you are. This is Mike here with the QuiverCast, and we have a very, very special guest today, Mr. David Nuuhiwa. How are you, Mr.?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, so where you at right now, Huntington Beach?
Yes, I'm in Huntington Beach, about, a mile from my house at a Starbucks.
Rad. Did you get a coffee?
I had to get my coffee.
Okay. So you were saying that you were in Beverly Hills last night, huh?
No, early this morning. I get up
early.
at 4, and some people I know needed a lift up there, so I gave them a ride up there.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Missed the traffic, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the world coming to?
Well, okay, you know what? Let's just start right there. And I know you are the man of surfing, in my opinion.
Did
and
you
probably
see my
a lot
new
of people.
book?
Okay, let's talk about your new book.
There it is.
Yes, there you go. And what is the name of the new book from David Nuuhiwa?
It's not. I didn't write it.
Okay.
Surfer's Journal.
Yep. Okay, I saw that.
It's a famous book, and about a month ago, they invited me to come down to the magazine place, and they go, "You're going to be in shock," and I went, "What?" And they said, "You're on the cover," and we did 16 or 17 page spread on me, and I just went, "No way." I mean, I was in total shock when they did that.
That is so awesome.
They pretty much surprised me because a lot of stuff in there was pretty close to how I grew up and all that, in Hawaii.
Okay.
And then when I came here, doing the surfing stuff, it wasn't that big, and it became bigger.
Okay, so let's start with the article, or we can just. How do you want to pick this apart? Because I'm fascinated.
It's your call. It's your show.
Let's start off with. Let's start in the middle of your life. Let's start off. Yeah.
Okay.
Like how was the '70s in surfing?
The 70s was pretty good. California was still a little mellow, and there were little beach towns still going off, It was just starting to roll into the 80s, and more people started showing up.
Right. Okay. Here's my question then. You've been in so many eras of surfing.
Yeah.
You've seen the whole thing just kind of blow up to where it is today.
I seen it unfold. It was really interesting to watch it unfold.
So what's your first thoughts today as opposed to when you started?
My thoughts are there's so many surfers now. When I grew up here, it was just little tiny beach towns, and there were like a handful of guys that surfed.
Okay. And did you know most of them?
Yeah, everybody knew everybody when I grew up in Huntington.
Okay. Now, if you go out surfing today, who are you? Maybe the hardcore locals that are surfing at a regular spot all the time, but for the most part, people don't know each other.
No, they don't know each other. It's like, all of a sudden the speed limit was 55. Now it's 85 on the freeways.
Okay. Surfing today, do you think it's grown in a good way?
It's yeah. There's more people involved, and there's more new people coming into the sport. I mean, it's just gotten overload, that's why there's a lot of us moving away and trying to find a little peace and quiet in different places.
Okay. And So it'll never go back to how it was when you started.
No,
it's
no,
impossible.
No, those days are good, but they're gone.
They're gone. Do you look back on those in appreciation?
Oh yeah, it seemed like it was just yesterday.
Okay. You probably are one of the guys that led the charge to where it is today. Without you and some of your friends,
Yes.
it would not have. It wouldn't be the $1 billion businesses. And
No. When I did it, there was no money in it.
Right.
I did have to work. I had to get a job. Like I ran shows, trade shows. Conventions. And the money was good, and I was married, so I was like doing that and surfing at the same time. But what killed me was on trade shows, I'm on my feet like 14, 16 hours a day. So it kind of took the legs out, a little bit.
Okay. Do you think, okay, so you were a working class surfer, like legit.
Yeah, because there was no money in it, until, late 70s and then the 80s and 90s, and the money started pouring in, and then they got all these guys to where they are now,
Okay, so
we were pioneering it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Do you look back and think you should have done something differently or wish it was different?
No,
in any way?
hell no. That's like turning the Beatles off.
Okay. That's a great example, actually. I love that.
Yeah, because I grew up on the Beatles. I would never, like if they came on, and I just love it. Even my son loves the Beatles.
Everyone loves the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
No,
it was a good time.
No matter where I wasn't around. I mean, I was there at the end, but yeah. It's so fast. Okay, so I don't know where to go. There's you can split it off so many directions, but I'm really fascinated by. Okay, let's just talk today. Okay. What do you think about pro surfing today?
Today it's different. I mean, the way they've got the pro tour set up. I mean, it's more aerials and it's more. They say carving. I like what they're doing, but if I look out in the water at any surf spot, I can guarantee you that most of the hot guys, they all look the same.
You think so?
The same moves, and yeah, it's getting to be robotic.
I would agree. Do you think we've lost some style, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to find a surfer that can ride a longboard as good as they ride a shortboard.
Okay. There are a few surfers that can do both, perform and shortboard. Yeah, can ride anything, basically.
I've got the cops are coming. I got to go. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's funny.
I've got a contest that I'd like to pull off. It's gonna capture the shaper, the surfer, and art people and everything all into one bundle.
Yeah. Okay. So let's describe that.
I can't
contest.
tell you, but otherwise I'll expose the whole deal and get shot. Like Kennedy.
Okay. So this is in the works. This is truly in the works.
Well, it's not. I haven't exposed it to anybody because I think they probably would do a movie or something on it. I got to find the right people.
Okay.
And put them together, and it has a lot to do with Hawaii.
Okay.
And the Duke.
And the Duke.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more like a tribute to him.
Have you seen the new movie about the Duke, the Waterman?
Oh yes, I went to the private screening. Me and Peter Townsend and a couple other guys from Huntington.
Okay. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was wonderful.
It was a great movie. I saw it here in Encinitas.
Yeah.
It was a really good. And did you know the Duke, and how well did you know him?
I did know the Duke when I was winning the U.S. title. Here comes a cop. I might have to leave. Hang on. Anyway, they went by. They don't want me.
Not yet. Or they're looking for you.
Anyway, I knew the Duke. I was surfing in Huntington Beach, and I won the U.S. Open back in the early 70s, I guess.
Okay.
And I was on the pier looking at the surf one day, and the waves were getting really good. This is back when, we paddled out with no wetsuits.
Yes.
We didn't have any wetsuits. You fall off and you'd freeze to death, and you'd have to run to the car and put the heater on. That's the way we got warm.
Oh,
And
man.
I was on the pier and I was looking at the surf, and all of a sudden this Rolls Royce came pulling up on the pier right by the lifeguard station in Huntington Beach. And out of the Rolls Royce came Fred Hemmings, Joey Cabell, and Paul Strow.
Wow.
And at that time, they were surfing as the Duke's 4 guys that Duke picked, They were the representatives, in Hawaii on surfing for the Duke.
Yes.
And they said, David, come here. There's a man in the car that wants to meet you.
Okay.
And out came Duke, and he was going, brother, you're doing so good, And I was just a little kid back then, I was like, and I remember him in Hawaii,
Yes.
But for him to do that to me, he said, aloha,
Yeah.
We've heard you've been doing really well.
That's awesome.
I mean, that was really a high point, for me.
For sure. You always remember that. And
Oh yeah.
And I mean, just the honor to meet the guy.
Oh yeah.
He's such a rad human.
See, because those people brought surfing in, Originally, I'm from islands called Marquesas Islands. That's
Okay.
where my family tree came from.
All right.
I had to do this because I've got property in Hawaii, and they wanted to know if where originally did I come from. My family.
Okay.
And there are 4 generations in Hawaii, but originally we came from these islands. They're called Marquesas Islands
All
in the
right.
Pacific, and there's an island there called Nuuhiwa, and that's where I came from.
Okay. So, where exactly is that in the Pacific?
I don't know. My dad went to it, but he didn't tell me before he passed, But he said
okay.
yes, he went to those islands, and that's where originally the name Nuuhiwa is from. And then
Okay.
we went straight into Kauai, and then the generations passed, 4 of them. And then
okay.
I became out of that.
Oh, rad. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and a little bit about your father. How instrumental, or what was he instrumental in you learning to surf or being in the water?
My dad was a beach boy at one time.
Rad.
And I used to, go to the beach all the time, and I had access to every kind of surfboard that you could want to ride when I was a little kid. Well, when I got here, everybody was using big boards.
Yes.
And when I grew up in Hawaii, we did that all the time. We jumped on big boards and little boards.
Okay.
So when a transition came in on shortboards, I've already did that. When I was
Yes.
a kid, we rode shortboards. Anyway, it was a good time because it didn't take me long to, get glued into a little board.
Okay. So it was a natural transition.
Yeah.
So you kind of had an advantage over most of the guys
Oh yeah.
that only grew up surfing on a longboard.
Well, my deal was to find out what really works, in longboards and shortboards. And it was I had to have good boards,
Okay.
So I found good shapers and bad ones,
Okay, so you worked yourself to get the right guy to shape the boards.
Yeah. Surfing's like golf, you got to have like 5 or 8 boards in your bag,
In your quiver.
Yeah, because each one of them do different things.
Okay, let's talk about your dad a little bit more. Him being a beach boy, what does being a beach boy truly mean? Like, you hear this term, beach boy.
Yeah, beach boys in Hawaii a long time ago, only the rich people could come over there, and the beach boys made sure the place was kept right, and they had surfboards that they could take them out and teach them, and that,
Okay.
And then in reward, they would get paid for that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. And then was that a good thing or a bad thing, you think?
Well, it's a good thing because, otherwise there'd be a lot of wounded howlies running around right now. Gotcha.
That's great. No, I love that.
You remember now, they ate Captain Cook.
Yeah. I mean, it was their land.
Yeah.
It was your land, I guess.
Yeah, don't go to the mountains and expect not to see bears and mountain lions,
Well, there you go. Okay. So you grew up in your early ages, you were in Waikiki or
Yes,
in Honolulu.
I grew up in Waikiki, and back then I was hanging out with a group of surfers that were like Beach Boys' sons and all that,
Yeah.
and we called it pods, like there were like 8, 10 of us in a pod, and then and then Ala Moana there was another pod, and if you went to the country there'd be another pod, a group of guys, they were all good.
And were you guys all friendly with each other, or was there rivalry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's Hawaii. You have to be friendly. You can't be a dickhead, otherwise they beat you up.
I love that. That's great. So how was going over, and so what was your break, and how was going down the street or down the way to Ala Moana, or let's say Makaha?
Learning from the different pods of good guys, you learn how they surfed and what they were doing,
Okay.
It was very educational.
Okay. In a friendly, loving manner?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So then you moved to California, and I think you moved up north at first, right?
Yeah, we landed in, my dad came over and he brought me when I was a little boy, and we landed in San Francisco. My uncle picked us up at the airport, and he goes, well, I know your son likes to go surfing. So he took me out at Pedro Point up there in San Francisco, and I was only a little kid, and I went in the water, and I tell you, I didn't want to surf.
No.
The water was, growing up in Hawaii under 80-something degree water, and then you come here and you're frozen, I said, no, this is going to be another deal.
Okay, so that was for sure, just shocking. It had to be the most shocking.
Yeah, because after school, all we did was surf, in the islands.
Okay, so then how did you feel when you're up there? What was your feelings? Were you bummed?
I want to go back to Hawaii.
Yes. Don't we all though? Really?
This is too cold.
Okay, so how'd you make your way down south? How'd that happen?
My dad worked for Walt Disney at Disneyland Hotel. He was there running all the security.
Okay.
And so I moved here with him, but I ended up not hanging out with him, and I went in Hermosa Beach, and that's where I got tangled up with Donald Takayama and Dewey Weber and all those guys,
Okay.
And I ended up living with Donald. When Dewey lived across the street, I used to go with Dewey to go to Malibu to go surfing.
Oh, rad. Okay.
Yeah, and everybody thought I was Donald's little brother.
Okay.
Because I was a goofy foot, and he was a goofy foot. He was really good back then.
Yes, of course. Yeah, Donald Takayama is a total legend also.
Oh, yeah.
And I know. Yeah, and I do want to talk about that, but we'll come back to that in a little while. So, okay, so you finally kind of get used to the water, at least in Southern California, which is different than San Francisco for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And what are your thoughts?
No.
This is pre-wetsuit. Do you remember your first wetsuit?
Yeah, it was a beaver tail.
And where'd you get it?
I don't know. I think I borrowed it and never returned it.
You claimed it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's see. Hermosa's not a very good wave.
No, it's always overcast and the wind's always on shore,
Yeah, 10 a.m.
And it was okay because, the water was right there, and I knew all the board builders. Back then there was not a million board builders like there is now.
Yes.
There was a handful of them.
And these guys are the legend.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so Dewey kicked me some boards, and Bing did, and Jacobs, and I knew the guys because they were looking at me like, whoa, wait a minute, who is this kid?
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting free boards and all that. It worked out really good.
Rad. Okay. But you said you're making road trips up to Malibu and you're going to some.
Oh, yeah.
How was that?
Oh, it was fun. It was like you pull up at Malibu and you look in the water and you see Mickey Dora, and then you'd see Weber, and then you'd see Lance Carson, and then you look at just a big group of good surfers, they were hanging there. I mean, it was like watching a surf movie, when you pull up, back then, you just go, wow, look at these guys. They're really good.
Yeah. So you looking up to these guys at that point?
Well, I wasn't looking up to them. I was just trying to ride the inside, and not get run over by them.
How was Mickey Dora? Let's use him for the first example.
Oh, Mickey was classic. He was more Hollywood, doing movies, back then with, Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon and Gidget and all those movies,
Yes.
He was making money, and living in Hollywood and surfing Malibu. What
Loving
a life.
life.
That was a good life.
Yeah. So were you guys ever later on become friends, or were you guys rivals?
Dora and I became really, really good friends, up until before he died, in Australia. Okay. Wherever I traveled, like I went to France and Mickey was at the airport waiting for me, he'd go, hey, Dave. Or I was in Australia and I get out, go to the hotel and there was Mickey. Hey, Dave.
He was always there then.
Yeah. Well, there was an old story. Mickey and I went to a party up in L.A. once, and this is back in the psychedelic days, where they were coming out with acid and all that drugs. Mm-hmm. And we went to this party, and somebody spiked me and Mickey with some LSD, and we kept walking around like, and we'll never forget that. It was funnier than shit.
Was it a good
time?
time?
Us, we're thinking we're gonna die.
Is that your first time taking acid?
Oh God, we didn't know we took it. Somebody put it in our drinks. Yep, that was one of the first time. Yeah.
Did you? All right, so you don't have to answer this. It's up to you. I understand.
Well, what's that? I mean, we're all in the danger zone. Go ahead.
All right, then. Did you take acid after that? And did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I took it, and I'll never take it again because I almost drowned in 2 foot of beach.
Oh, really?
From dying laughing at my friend, and he was on it. He would die laughing at me. We swallowed water until we almost died,
No way. That's funny.
So I went, no more.
Okay. Even when, actually, let's stay on Malibu. What about Lance Carson? What was your thoughts on him?
Lance was kind of good, but he came in pretty much after when I grew up.
Okay.
At Malibu. He came in a little bit later than Mickey and all the rest of the guys.
Yeah. What about the Allbergs?
Oh, they were there too when Mickey was there and Weber.
Okay.
They were around.
Let's talk about the psychedelic years, like the late 60s, early 70s.
It was a weird time, because of rock and roll and music. And I was in Huntington, and there was a place called the Golden Bear.
Yep.
And I used to always sneak in the back door and watch the groups, which was really cool. Yeah. Until we went with a couple of rock stars over to my apartment. We almost burned it down, leaving the candles on, and the incense going.
What rock stars or what bands were you seeing there?
Used to be a band I really liked called Paul Butterfield.
Okay.
Blues band, and there were a couple other ones, Yeah, they were really good. I lived right 5 houses over from the Golden Bears, so we'd go outside on breaks with them, and they go, "Hey, can we puff one at your house?" Yeah, come on over.
And you had to hide. Well, now marijuana is legal. You had to hide it back then.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you paid a lot less for them too. I mean, for $10 you could get a bag about this big. You roll those chicken chong joints.
With guys, okay, so I'm gonna throw this example out there. Corky Carroll, like he was kind of the clean cut kind of surfer.
Bullshit.
And you were, oh, he wasn't?
Corky and I became the best of friends at first.
Oh, really?
At first, I kind of didn't like him, because he was a Beach Boy, more like the Beach Boys that play music,
Yes.
And whenever I went to school, I used to see all the guys dressing the same. They had the long white pants on with high heel. I mean, the pants were too short, and they were wearing, kids' shoes and weird outfits, and the short hair. We had long hair. I was more the Bob Dylan, the Beatles, that kind of guy.
Yes.
So he was like doing that. I was doing this, and it was a perfect match.
So you guys were mixed, like opposites, and like cultural wise, but you guys both surfed, and that was the bond.
What's that?
But surfing was the bond.
Yeah. Surfing was a bond. I mean, he was more Beach Boy, and I was more, Beatles and that kind of guy.
Was he sneaking in the back door with you at the Golden Bear?
No.
Okay.
This before he got high. Because when he got high, his hair got longer.
Okay. And then the Miller Lite commercial started.
Yeah, but I did one after that.
Oh, did you?
Light beer one, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was your light beer commercial?
Mine was groovy, dude. Something like that. We shot it in Fiji.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great destination. Okay, so and then some like how did it work out that you were in that Jimi Hendrix, the Rainbow Bridge movie?
It was a weird deal. Like, I was in San Diego, and I used to drive down to see Mike Henson.
Yes.
Mike Henson was building a lot of my surfboards back then. And Mike actually was the guy that came out with the down rail surfboard.
Okay.
The first ones ever built. He built a whole setup for me, like about 8 or 10 of them.
Okay.
To surf. And so he, everybody was on these round rail boards, not going fast. And all of a sudden I found myself passing these guys on waves. And I was going, wow, man, this is what's going on. And I'll never forget, when Mike walked into a shop up at Santa Cruz, and they laughed at him and they laughed at us, and now look what everybody's riding, down rail surfboards. Now I'm laughing at them.
Yeah. So I mean, this is where you're a pioneer. You and your shapers.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the movie. You were in San Diego.
Okay, I was in San Diego. I drove down and I went to Henson's girlfriend's house, and her name was Melinda, and knockout gorgeous wife. And I went to the house, and I was sitting on the couch, and she goes, "Hey, look, there's word that we might be doing a movie." And I went, "What?" And so 2 weeks later, I came back down, and there was Jimi Hendrix manager, Michael Jeffrey, and Michael was there, and everybody was talking, collaborating, and then all of a sudden, movie's on, so we all flew to Hawaii to shoot the movie. And the movie was sort of like a religion type deal.
Yeah, I've kind of watched some parts of it, lots of parts of it, actually.
And I wasn't quite into that,
Okay.
that part of it, but I told him that I'll do the surfing part of the movie. Jimmy's going to do the soundtrack to it. And so I left it as that,
Okay.
I did the surfing. I got hurt doing it. I got stung by one of them Portuguese man of wars. It hit me in my leg while I was doing the shoot, and so I had to leave. I had to get out of there because I was no good. My leg was all swollen, and so we left the movie as that. But we got enough footage on it that was really good.
Yeah, no, I've seen. Yeah, I watched recently too. I watched it throughout the years. And did you get to hang out with Jimmy?
Not really. I mean, in a way, I seen him, but didn't hang out. We were gone. You know, I was pretty much in and out. I did my part. I got to go. See you.
Okay. Is that back to California? Or did you go back to another island?
Back to California.
Okay. Now, when you were living in California, how often were you going back to Hawaii, and then how did that feel?
God, Hawaii was like catching a bus. You just go whenever you felt like going.
Okay.
Yep.
What's your favorite wave? Let's say on Oahu. Do you like the North Shore?
I like all of it. I mean, I surfed the pipe before the pipe got really overpopulated.
Yep. Okay.
I surfed it when I was like, it's in the book. When I was like, I don't know, 12, 13. Before everybody, knew about it,
Okay. Yeah. Your feelings, were you like stoked or were you kind of scared, hesitant?
I was stoked.
All stoked?
I was there with Billy Hamilton's, Billy's son's a big wave surfer, Lair.
Yes.
Yep. I was there with his dad, and there's pictures of me and the dad in the book, and there's nobody around. Perfect pipeline, Okay. It was great. I mean, it was really neat to ride a wave that really good.
Compared to today, how crowded and crazy it is out there.
Oh, God. I went over there recently, and I just go, God, somebody's going to get killed. There's just too many guys,
Yeah. So let's say in the 80s, some of the Hawaiian guys were pretty heavy in regulating the break, which I think was necessary.
Yeah. Well, it's right now it's just way too dangerous. I wouldn't even go out if I was good, not unless they're in a contest where they got it, 3, 4 guys in the water. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, and then actually, real quick, this is just a note. Your dad worked for Disneyland. Did you get to go to Disneyland for free?
Oh yeah, back then it was. I'll tell you some secrets about Disneyland.
Let's hear them.
My dad and I would tell me, yeah, just go to the gate, and here's some money to get a ticket, right? So after school, I'd gather up about 4 or 5 guys, and we'd go to the gate, and one of us would pay to get in, and they'd stamp our hands, right? So I'd go in and come back out and rub the hands of another kid. And before you know it, we had like 6 or 8 kids in there for nothing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But now, don't do that. Don't do that. They will rush you.
Oh, I bet you security's probably a little different now than it was then.
Yeah.
But you knew the head guy of security, so you were good.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
What kind of, would you guys raise hell in Disneyland, or were you guys pretty?
Oh, no. We just dig the rides. The rides are really fun.
Okay.
There were no big lines,
Right. Yeah. You got on the overcast days for sure, and you're. My grandmother retired from Disneyland, so I kind of know what's going on there back in the day.
Yeah.
Right on. And then let's pro surfing today. Did you ever think it would be this big as it is today?
No.
Could you imagine that in the 70s?
No. It's like anything, more people, more money, more this. Now it's exploded,
We talked about style. I don't know how to ask this question, but how would they bring style back into a surf contest where they're not just doing the rotation?
There's style in it. I mean, there's tons of style,
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just a different time.
I remember hearing something about like back in like the 70s, they would do like the best goofy foot, the best regular foot in the contest.
Yeah. How you
I think they should do that again.
Yeah, well, we could.
Different categories than they are today.
Yeah.
So the 80s are coming in. You're leaving the 70s. How much were you surfing back then?
God, every day, just about.
Oh, still.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And was your quiver different? Were you riding just shortboards, or were you still mixing it up?
It geared down to shortboards, and I was at that point. I went down to a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on a twin fin, which there was a big deal about somebody accusing me of ripping off the fish, and this and that. But my board was all set up different,
Okay.
They had straight fins on them, and my board, I turned the fins in the front and flipped them out so they'd release quicker and they went faster. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I love the fish. The fish was the best thing. You talk about driving a Ferrari on the freeway.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, and compared to like just what everyone else in that transition from the longboard to the shortboard. So you were getting a high performance. You had your own board from who was it? Bing.
Yeah. That was a longboard. Bing had me on a platform. More or less a platform of nose riding. It came in after we had a big nose riding tournament. So Bing made a nose rider for me, and I was promoting the nose rider, so I had to be on it for like 3-4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then in those 3 or 4 years, everyone was transitioning to a shorter board suddenly, correct?
Well, no, they were hung up still, on longboards, and then the shortboards didn't come in for a while. It went from really big to sort of a little bit shorter and shorter and shorter. That's the way it all went. Yeah.
And
the lines on the board went from round to more streamlined,
Okay. And the rails?
The rails went down, because they were faster. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then when you see the resurgence of longboarding in the 90s, what was your thoughts? Did you have thoughts?
Well, I was part of a big movement back then. Donald Takayama, I remember going to Encinitas back then, and Donald was going, hey, can you ride one of your old boards? And I was riding a fish then. We were all moving, we were on smaller boards. I was happy on a fish, and he talked me into helping him out, getting the old guys off the couch because they couldn't paddle these little boards. See?
Yeah.
So Donald came up with this idea. Come on, David. Let's ride longboards again and see if we could get this thing going. And so that's when we did that.
Okay.
I went over and I jumped on a bigger board again, and then all the contests and the clubs started jumping in, and then now look where it is. I mean, there's long and short. Nobody cares.
For the most part, no one cares. I mean, different breaks have different quantities of longboarders versus shortboarders and so forth.
Yeah, now it's no big deal.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think most surfers have both in their garage or their car.
Yeah.
So you look at the waves, you go, that's what I'm riding today.
Well, like me and you, we take the long before the short.
Well, I'm not getting skinnier, but I still ride a relatively shortboard most of the time.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, now they have, all of a sudden, these things called the mid-length.
Yeah,
people are starting to ride.
We call them in-betweeners, where they're long and short, the one down in here. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are fun. They're maneuverable, a lot more maneuverable and easier to paddle and catch waves.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
So let's go back to the Rainbow Bridge. You're in your surfing footage, you're going left, right?
Yeah.
And you do it like a turn, like you kind of spray a guy as he's paddling over a wave.
Oh, yeah. That was a long time ago when Jerry Lopez came to California, and I was living in Huntington, but I moved to Corona Del Mar, and I was on my fish, and I cut my right between my toes.
Ooh.
From the fin, in the back of the board's real sharp.
Yeah.
So I ended up cutting one of my toes,
Oh, no.
And so I had it all taped up, and the U.S. Open was here. And so Jerry was staying with me at my house, and I said, hey, look, it's wide open, bro. I'm not going to be in it. So why don't you go out and do it? And he did.
Okay.
He went out and put on a big show on like 6-7 foot waves where he'd take off, slide down the face like sidewards, and then catch the board and then turn,
Oh, that's
So that was called, fin drifting, where you take
fin
off,
drifting.
hit a top turn real quick and just let the board skitter down the wave, and then the board would swing and then fire a turn.
That's so rad.
That's what you saw in Rainbow Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, that maneuver, I've seen guys, kind of the retro guys kind of do that now, but it's such a rad turn.
Yeah. Well, back then we had single fins, we were dropping them like that, where we tail drift. Yeah.
Okay. At what point was Jerry always a great surfer?
Jerry kind of came, yeah, Jerry was good. Long story short, one of my best guys ever riding a fish with me, Mike Armstrong, he used to ride a fish with me. And so he had a fish and he was in Hawaii, and Jerry was out with him this day, and Michael was dropping in way down the line, coming at Jerry, connecting the dots with the fish, going fast and all that. And Jerry looked at him and said, hey, can I try that board? And it was one of mine. And so Mike said, yeah, here. So Jerry gave him his board, and Jerry took off on a wave, went down, which is the wrong thing to do on a fish.
Okay.
The fish, you got to fire the turn right at the top of the wave and get it going quick.
Yeah, to go down the line.
Jerry went down like he took his single fin to do a bottom turn. And when he did that, the board spun around on him and he crashed and burned, right? So he lost his board, swam all the way in, and he was screaming at Mike going, that fucking board, da, da, da. And Mike was laughing because he knew Jerry didn't know how to ride this.
Okay.
See, every board has a different technique to using.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, back to the 90s on the longboard. So you and Donald are the guys that kind of made longboarding resurgent.
Yeah.
You got the guys off the couch.
We try to get, because the guys all got older, and they.
Yes.
And the short boards are too small for them to paddle anymore.
Yeah.
So they kind of bailed out, and, they were going, well, I'm not going to surf again. So Donald came up with the idea, and he told me, can you help me do it? And I said, yeah, I'll ride the longboard again. Let's do it.
Okay. I heard Donald used to have like these big barbecues and parties at his house.
Oh, yeah. He tried to get me to come down there once. There was a contest at Steps down in Acadia.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was about, they'd bring down these kegs of beer. And you would have to drink a big bucket of this stuff and then paddle out in the heat and surf. And then if you qualified, you'd have to drink another one before the next round. And you're stinking drunk when it was over.
Oh, that's so fun. Was that a good time?
Yeah, it was fun, It was back then.
Surfing probably got worse. You probably, the drunkest guy wins, or what? The guy can hold his liquor?
Well, whoever's standing, yeah.
Yeah. They got to bring that back.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it at your place.
Oh, I think that back then people didn't take surfing so serious. It was about having fun.
No, that's a difference now. People are way too serious now.
Way too serious.
Yeah, and the way we learned was it was all fun. You gotta mix that fun into being serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Well, you got a lot of. So now, especially during COVID, but let's say last 10 years, a lot of mid-age guys.
Yeah.
Just starting to learn how to surf in their 30s.
Yeah.
And I grew up I started when I was 10, so I got yelled at by the old guys, and they were chasing me around trying to kill me, because maybe I burned them or something. But now you got these 30-year-old guys that have they're from Chicago or wherever they're from.
Yeah.
They're from Simi Valley. They don't understand the culture of surfing.
Well,
and
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
Well, my question is, does surfing lose from that? Or does it grow from that?
I think it just turned into one of those, oh, I did it, type question. Have you ever surfed before? Oh, yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, good point.
I pretend.
Okay, I pretend. Okay, so they'll never live the life that you lived.
No.
Being in the water from birth, basically.
Yeah. When I grew up with it was just 100% fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Now and then one more question, and you don't have to answer this either, but I would be curious. You see these, this is called soccer dads, where the kid's 3 years old, they're pushing them into waves.
Yeah.
They're the next star. And there's a lot of them. I'm probably all over the world.
I know.
What are your thoughts on those guys? I mean, should they?
Good.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Surfing's performance-wise.
Teach your kids how to have fun, and that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay. So surfing's all about having fun, even to this day for you.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever take it serious?
Oh yeah, quite a few times when I was riding competition. Yes, you took it serious. You didn't want to lose. The trouble with winning all the time, you piss a lot of people off. You know what? I get guys come up to me and go, "Oh yeah, I was in a contest with you once," and the guy still got a grudge. He still fucking hates me. And I've probably been in over hundreds of contests, and I got all these haters now.
That's funny.
No, I swear to God. It's like basketball, football, and all that. Those guys probably got a lot of guys that hate them, too.
Oh, shit. That's so funny.
Oh, you didn't know that, huh?
No. They come back to you, and they're probably like, they probably want to apologize. Why would you apologize? You just beat them. What are they looking for?
I'm like this now when I walk into anywhere. I'm like, okay, nobody knows it.
Oh, shit. That's so funny. Oh, man. Okay. So with Donald, you guys all lived up in the South Bay.
Yeah. And then
what made you move to Huntington? Why'd you move to Huntington?
Well, Donald moved first. He moved to San Diego.
Yep.
And I hated the South Bay because the sun never came out. It's always a gray cloud up there for some reason. And so I came down to Huntington, and I lived in town, and there was a handful of guys here, local guys that were really good surfers. Like Herbie Fletcher, Jackie Baxter, even the guy that owns the magazine, Steve Hesman, Surfer Journal. I mean, there was a group of us down there. There was like 8 of us that hung out together. And I liked it. And plus the sun was always out. And surfing, was fun back then. Yeah.
I interviewed this guy. His name is Rusty Whitlock. I think he's a little younger than you, but he said he remembers the first time you paddled out there. He was amazed. Like, he saw you surfing Huntington Beach. He's like, what? Like, he wasn't even seeing, like, wasn't sure what he was seeing. That's how good you were.
I paid him good. He still owes me $20.
Or coffee or a beer or something.
But he's not one of those guys that hate me.
Oh, that's funny. Anything else about Donald? Just how nice of a guy was he?
Yeah, I miss Donald, because we kind of grew up together, and it's too bad what happened. He died.
Yeah.
We had great times together. He took care of me. And he built me a lot of great surfboards. Yeah.
I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony. They did they have a big thing at the California Surf Museum here in Oceanside.
Yeah, I was going to show up, but I had another obligation that I had to do.
Yeah, but it's quite a display. It's quite nice. They did a really good job.
Yeah.
And it's all his histories. I mean, that guy's history is for sure
yes
instrumental in surfing, just like yours, really. Okay, and then we talked about pipe, and I think you like pipe. What about like the surfer's pole? You did pretty well.
Yeah, back then, they that was sort of the transition at that time, from all the movies and the Who Was Hot and all the different towns all up and down the coast. And they voted me as number one, and I think it was right when I was riding the Nose Rider,
Okay.
during that time.
Okay. So I think like I don't know what year, you might have got like 66 or something around that era.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then I think the following, I just looked this up, the following year, Corky Carroll. So
Yeah.
were you guys at?
It was a battle, we were both kind of going back and forth,
Was it a friendly battle?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you have any rivals that you just like, I have to beat this guy?
No, not really. It was like more like beating yourself in a contest,
Gotcha.
You had that feeling you had to go out and do your best,
Yeah. And so did it ever become like a job where you would be disappointed, or was you just like, I'll move on to the next one?
To me, it was just, I grew up having fun with it, but there was no money in it,
Yeah. It was all pride.
Now
really.
It's a job, for these guys in the top 10. They have to perform because there's a paycheck.
Do you think that takes away from their happiness in surfing?
Oh yeah, it's like golf. I mean, you even fart
True.
on golf, you're disqualified. You say the wrong thing. If I say the wrong thing, oh God,
Yeah. And then I would say too, personalities of pro surfing now has completely. I think you guys all lived. The early guys like you, the legends, all lived. You had your own. Everyone was able to show their own personality, who you were.
Oh, you couldn't do this with one of the pros now. I mean, they real careful about what they say.
Yes, politically correct and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And you were like the rock star. Are you like the first guy kind of to like?
Well, I wanted to change the mood, from the Beach Boys to more of, back then it was, the rock and roll group. I pretty much went that direction while Corky was still with the Beach Boys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you also have a website where you're selling some clothing and some other things. It's
we just came out with, I would like to say my wife kind of screwed me up on that whole deal, and we broke away from the old David Nuuhiwa logo, and we got a new one now.
Okay.
And I got Brian here.
Okay.
And it's called David Nuuhiwa Surf Company.
Yes.
And it's under Dino.
Dino. Okay.
Yeah, we just got the license to it.
All right.
Now my wife can't do anything. Like I told you, Jurassic Park, we went in laughing, we came out screaming.
And so, what's the future for that? It's just gonna start growing.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, we just I'm gonna come out with the Dino Fish, the original one again. Let people buy them if they want. But the first.
I want to buy one for sure.
But you don't want to buy these because the first 15 or 20 of them, it's gonna be really expensive. More like wall hangers. But after that, they will be cheaper.
Okay. So you're more collectible. The first ones are the collectible ones.
They're like collectibles, yeah.
And there's a big market for collectible surfboards now. It's.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Would you have ever thought that?
Excuse me?
Would you have ever thought that the boards you were riding would be basically history and collectibles?
Well, we're history.
You are like a major part of surfing culture history. 100%.
Yeah, I'm. Every day I get up, I go, man, I made it another day. I'm not at the coffee shop, drinking coffee and talking about the same crap every day,
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like you're enjoying life, so that's great.
Oh yeah, you have to. If you don't, then who knows what your mind would do.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta remember those words. And then back to the Surfer's Journal, the book. So do you know how you get that? Do you just go contact Surfer's Journal and get that?
You just go online and look at Surfer's Journal, and you can get a book. But you got to be careful because I was told that they only make so much in China, then it's over.
Which makes them collectible, also.
Yeah. So if you're gonna get one, get them now.
Get it now.
Yeah, here's a book. That's me on the cover.
So right. That's so awesome. You like that picture? Do you remember that day?
No. I would not pick that picture to put on the cover. I don't know. Maybe they had good weed in the back room when they picked it. I don't know. Hey, I hope I didn't blow this up for you.
No, this is great. You're showing your true personality, and I love it. This is like fabulous. I couldn't ask for a better interview. I'm having a good time. Thanks, David, for keeping me entertained, and all of us here at the QuiverCast.
Thank all you people out there for listening to this. Anyway, we'll meet again soon.
David, thank you so much. Do you have any final words?
Yeah. This time of day, just stay safe and enjoy yourself, and go to Hawaii if you've never been there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and don't flip any guys off in Hawaii. They'll follow you home and beat you up.
and don't drop in on anybody on North Shore.
Yes. Anyway, hey, aloha.
Thank you, David. Aloha.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Please follow us on Instagram and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us 5 stars if you listen to us on Apple, and do me a favor and tell a friend that QuiverCast is back. I'd like to thank Blue Factory and Dave Hegstrom for the music, and I'll see you on the lineup. Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.